Hey guys, welcome back to the final installment of episode 47 of Inside the Stash. In the last kit episode, this guy said that it looked like Christmas. So ho ho ho, bitches, let's finish this one out.
Alrighty, so we're going to start this off with a model kit that's not a model kit necessarily, but could possibly be a model kit. I'll let you guys decide. So I got this back at the end of last year, something that has not seen the light of day on a channel as of yet, and this is the Garage Life. Two-car garage by the folks over in Kobayani. Now, this is made in Japan, as you might expect, with all this Japanese characters, and the fact that it says made in Japan right there. But this is sort of a wood slash paper craft type of thing. It's not much paper. I'll show you here in a second. Some of the roofing shingles are very, very thin cardboard, almost bordering on paper. This, as you see down here, has a shelf price of 16,500 yen. With the exchange rates being really, really favorable right now, that's probably around about $135. So not a cheap diorama piece by any stretch of the imagination, but you sort of do get everything you see here. You get this little wooden side yard, you get the concrete sidewalk in front, and then of course you get the garage itself. Let's see if I can do this without dropping everything. You get kind of a limited set of instructions. They're just sort of photocopies that sort of give you an idea of what you're doing here. This is the overall layout of the garage itself. There are inner and outer walls to everything. Builds up on a center, sort of a MDA kind of board. It's pressed, not really plywood, but MDA board. And then you have all of the trim work that goes into the outside edge here. You have the roof trusses, which are actually plastic. And then you have the roof, and you have to shingle the roof, which we'll show you in a second, which is humorous in its own right. And then this gives you sort of an overview of all the parts that are included with the kit here, as well as how to trim out and install the doors, as well as the windows. So yes, this does include, and this is unpainted, either pressboard, cardboard, or MDA type material for everything. There is sort of a pattern to it, like this would be sort of this is the inside wall, so it's sort of a shiplap, for lack of a better term, style wall, with this being the where the garage trusses go in, and this is where it plugs into the floor, so this is a side wall as it sits, and then these of course are the sort of end caps. You have the trusses, which also this contains a lot of the other sort of odds and ends of the sort of, I should say that was the outer wall. These are the inner walls, but they can have this sort of pattern to them. And then you have this piece down here. This is your sidewalk. This, of course, is your garage base itself. Let's see where everything went in this. I had everything out and then put back, so everything's sort of out of discombobulation. But here you go. These are the shingles to the roof. There are 3 sheets of this very, 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 very thin wood. It's almost like if you have a child or you yourself played a woodwind instrument at some point in time in your life, very, very thin, like a reed to a clarinet, saxophone type of thing. The very, very end of it that always breaks off, which is why you need to replace your reeds all the time. And there are 3 sheets of this, one in this pattern, one in a offset pattern to this pattern, and then one that's sort of half of each. And you literally have to interlap the set, offset, set, offset, set, offset. You have to shingle the roof the way you would shingle a real roof. So this is by no means any sort of quick build. Got to take quite a bit of time and effort to get this into something that's presentable. If I remember, and I gotta track down where the pictures went off to, so there may not be pictures of this when it comes down to it, but I had pictures of this with the dimensions of it in terms of height and width and the base, things like that. It's about, I want to say, I was going to say, let me look on my phone. Oh, I can't. I'm filming with it. But it has I want to say it's a base dimension of about 13, almost 14 inches deep, With the side yard attached, it's about, it's about 10 inches deep, about 14, 15 and a half inches wide, and then it's just shy at the peak of the roof, just shy of a foot tall. Based on garage dimensions, I built this just sort of not really even taped it together because it fits it slots in here well enough to stand up on its own once you stick the roof on it. I put a couple things in here. It fits a monogram 1/25th scale 59 Cadillac, which is probably the biggest 1/25th scale kit I have. I'm not sure it necessarily will fit in here with the door down with the bumpers on, but the body itself will fit. The biggest thing that's not like a commercial truck that I have that I could think of off the top of my head when I was doing pictures of this was the F350 from Meng, and the chassis sticks out about 2 inches past the door opening, just the chassis without any build to it at all. So that I'd sit here over in your side yard. I was definitely thinking of getting Carney's Plastic to build a custom sort of lid to this. I wanted to build the base out a little bit more to put like a street here and maybe a little bit of static grass over here to make it a uniform size rather than it being a sort of an oblong rectangle. And then having them make me a case with a couple of handles in the lid, because I really don't need it for like, oh, fancy display. I just want to keep the dust off of this once I get it built. So yeah, it's a very unique piece in the sense that it's not a big, blocky, rectangular, square, goofy-looking garage the way the Fujimi garages are. Fujimi garages always sort of remind me of the bays of like 1950s, 1960s Texaco station, or any gas station that has the 2 or 3 bay garage service center style. If you're here in the United States, you know what I'm talking about because those things were ubiquitous. A lot of them have been torn down, but the ones that survive are basically rectangles with a flat roof, and that's what those garages the Fujimi made look like. So this is a little bit different in the sense that this looks like something in your backyard. I threw a couple of die-cast police cars into it, and a few friends of mine also agree that it looks like every township garage in rural America, so there's also that sort of idea. It's too small to put like a big piece of fire apparatus into, but it certainly would function as like a van-based ambulance and like a brush truck or something like that. A lot of substations. If you're out in the rural parts of America, a lot of substations to your fire departments will be a brush truck and a spare ambulance or something like that. They won't necessarily be a fire apparatus piece because all the fire apparatus will be at the main station. Anyway, be as it may, you have, yeah, a very interesting piece. Alright, so now I gotta sort of do a rotation around the room here because I have kits stacked everywhere that I needed to show you guys. I gotta put them away. Alright, so from Hasegawa, you have the 1973 All Nippon Fuji 1,000 kilometer endurance race. This being a Toyota Celica 1600. Pretty much your standard Hasegawa race car kit. This is the race car, not the sort of the street car that looks like the race car, because they make one of those too. This car finished second in its class, and I believe fourth overall. The race was shortened to about half its distance because of heavy rain and inclement weather. Couldn't keep the cars on the track, so pit strategy, gas strategy to its advantage, and ended up podiuming. Wow, can't say the word. Won a trophy. Ended up getting a class win and a near podium finish, just sort of by luck. A lot of racing's like that, though. Then we have also from Hasegawa this, which is the 1992 Rally New Zealand car with the Sitma livery to it. This one doesn't require, I don't believe, any extra parts. The decals will do most everything. They have you two-tone the car, basically paint the front of it red, and then these red stripes are part of the decal package. And then everything else sits on a white car. Decals should be on top, but hey, looky, they're not. But you get the idea. Here are your sort of red stripes, so you can do the front fenders, front hood area, and the rest of it is going to be a two-tone of your own creation. But yeah, there's that. And because somebody will ask, and I don't know off the top of my head, or I'll think about it later and be bothered by the fact this finished second place in the 1992 Rally New Zealand. And then the last kit off of the pile to my left is the Tamiya Gazoo Racing 86. Obviously, it is the match to the Subaru BRZ. This one is molded in white, though. BRZ, I can't remember if I showed the inside of it or not, but if I didn't, it's molded in blue. This one molded in white, so you paint it sort of any color you like. Looking at this in an overall sense, this and the BRZ are pretty much new bodies on the same platform as the original 2012 kit, which makes sense. The real cars aren't that much different in real life. This is a whole new kit, though. Both the 86 and the BRZ are brand new, 100% brand new tooling. They may take a lot of the patterns from the earlier kits, but within the actual confines of what you get in the box, it is brand new, because everything is laid out in a completely different way than the 2012 kits were. I've seen a few people be like, it's just a new body, and the rest of it's the same. The rest of it is the same in a technical sense, in the fact that, like, yeah, it would be, because the 2012 and the 2022 cars, despite being 10 years apart, are functionally the same vehicle underneath, slightly bigger engine, restyle of the body type of thing, but, yeah, it is a whole new kit, regardless. Okay, to the box to my right now. Picked up a whole bunch of these. The folks that know me know how many of these, but it is more than one and less than a dozen. These are the pre-2013 body style. Little bit of glare there, but if I turn this light off, then I have a big shadow from my phone, so deal with it. MP4 12C GT3 kits. These were out of print, out of production for 8 years or so now. The 2013 kits were easier to find, and what a lot of the other the Live Love Pacific Racing car was built out of. So the 2012 kit, or actually this was done in, I believe, 2011, represents everything from 2010 to 2013. They were, these ones were just sort of let to age out. Fujimi decided to do a very quiet reissue of a number of kits this spring. This happened to be one of them. And so I went back and I counted all the decal sheets I had for this earlier body style, and I bought the appropriate number of models to match all my decal sheets, because these kits were going for $80 plus, even in Japan. $100 plus here in the United States, if you could even find them. And so I bought the number of them that I needed to buy in order to have enough of them to build every set of decal sheets that I own. Should something happen to me and befall me before I achieve that goal, hey, at least when my wife or kids sell these things off, they can put a decal sheet in here with the kit and sell them as a whole unit rather than being sold individually. Should any of them actually be, smart enough to think about that. But at any rate, I picked up a bunch of these. Just suffice it to say, a bunch. Yeah, the rest of this box. More Hasegawa stuff. Seems to be mostly what I buy these days, because they're mostly the people who are putting out new kits at this point. So this is the 1991 24 Hours of Spa race winning GTR. People don't realize, because a lot of people think of 24 Hours of Spa, they think of like the GT1 years, where it was being run with the McLarens and things like that, or the current iteration of the 24 Hour Spa, which of course is a GT3 endurance race. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a Group A touring car race. And so at the same time that the R32s were going around and stomping all over the rest of the touring car world, they went over and won the 24 Hours of Spa. Now, there is a secondary version of this that Tamiya did, but it is the Group N car, which is the what it's called sort of a factory plus racing style, where it is very, very, very close to being a factory car with just a roll cage thrown into. This is the Group A car. This is the full-on Godzilla race car that, was stomping all over Super GT, or JTCC at the time, as well as winning Macau and getting weight penalties outside of Japan, because how dare this Japanese car come in and just be so dominant and stuff like that. It won in Europe, it won in Macau, it won in Australia, it obviously won for 4 years straight in Japan in the touring car series there. So It's a very, very basic livery in and of itself, though. Just being a few Zexal words over and over and over again. Basically, here's your decal sheet. The one nice thing that Hasegawa did do in this kit that they did not do in the R31 24 Hours of Spa car was they did include the license plate lights that these cars were forced to run with over the door placards, because in 1991 you still did not have photoluminescent door placards the way we have in modern times. And the Hasegawa did the R31. They put little black splotches on the decal sheet to sort of one-dimensionally replicate these things. It included a roof light for some reason. In this kit, they tooled up as the only new tool part. The only thing about this that's new are these license plate lights. And so that's great, because now you don't have to go out and spend, $10 on a sheet of 3D printed license plate lights. So that is in. We have this, which is the newest tool kit that Hasegawa has done, the Nissan Pulsar GTI-R. This was one of the incredible hot hatches of Japan that we did not see in the United States. This was done in, I think they ended up building a little over 1,000 of these in reality, but this was done as a homologation car for WRC. This was a World Rally Championship car, as odd as that may seem. Coming out of Group B, with all the Lancia 037s and the Super Deltas and all that stuff. Didn't particularly do very well in WRC, but in Group N, which you may recall is the very, very close to factory racing specs, it did win the championship for that in 1992. I would expect to see that kit come out in the future. Right now, coming July, we're going to get the WRC car, which of course is this kit with a whole bunch of new pieces added to it for the interior. This kit is molded in black all the way through. And yeah, if you didn't know any better, it's a Honda Civic, but it is not. Very cool kit, very unique kit. These were sold in the UK, I believe elsewhere in Europe, but it is a car that we, despite the Pulsar name, we did not get here in the United States. Okay, next up we have the Porsche 944 Turbo, 1987 Turbo Cup winner. So for people who don't know, 87, 88, I think maybe, was it 86 or 89? I can't remember which way that goes. But for 3 years, there was a single make touring series of just this Porsche 944. I have, as of yet, not gotten any of these racing kits. I do have a street version of this car, because a lot of them tend to be a, well, it's not quite as accurate to the real car as the kit is kind of thing. This box got its ass kicked in the mail. But this one, being that it is the winning vehicle of this series, I decided I'd pick this one up. I don't plan to buy any more of them in the future, but for a winning car, sure, why not? So it's a very fluorescent decals for the roof and for the three-corner C-panel here. And yeah, pretty much is what it is for the rest of it. This is a full detail kit, more or less. The engine's not necessarily the most greatest thing to write home about, but it is nonetheless a full detail kit. And so there is that. And then we have the 1986 Catalonia Rally 037, Lancia 037. This is a 7-Up sponsored old toe tip car. Running in the European Rally Championship. This is not necessarily WRC. I'm trying to think where along is this car finished. I need to look at the instrucciones for that. As you see here, here's your decal sheet. It is, like I said, the old toe tip livery. This vehicle finished 3rd place and was the championship vehicle for the Spanish part of the European Rally Championship. So a winner chicken dinner type of vehicle there, and I just think that 7-Up is a little bit of a different sponsorship you don't see. And then got this, which is the 1990 Japanese Touring Car Championship Toyota Corolla 11 AE92. Trust sponsorship on this one. Pretty much a field filler car, I want to say. A lot of these, the D3 cars had their own division, of course, but this one was not one of the sort of better cars, at least that I can remember. It did win third place in the fourth round of the 1990 season. So it did have a podium, although not a high finish. 1990, you would have had the domination of the EF9 Civic in that season. So the Toyotas were a little behind at that point. It's a little bit right before you're going to flip to the AE101 Celicas, or Corollas rather. So yeah, pretty much all your actual livery there is on the decal sheet. You just paint the car white and you're out the door. And then the last thing that was in this shipment of kits was another one of these 320 E46 kits. There are, at this point, decals to do a whole bunch of these. You may hear the newest addition to the hobby workshop, a new hobby cat, squealing in the background. He doesn't quite have his voice yet, little guy. But yeah, so again, just another one of these for the stash of blanks. We're going to build one car that looks just like the box art here to do the winning 2004 Donington round winner, and then everything else will be Macau and other ETCC and WTCC cars. Oh, isn't it just the most adorable thing ever? Yeah, okay, so next up we have one of the newest new tool kits from Aoshima. This is the 1969 Toyota 2000 GT. This is the late version of the 2000 GT. Has these turn signals in the lower fascia. Also, this sort of underguard here is a little bit different because 69 model year happened to be one of the years, very few years, I think 69 70, being the ones you could order air conditioning on in the point when this car was new. So this is slightly different than the Hasegawa kit. It still is a curbside kit, so you still don't have an engine in here or anything else like that. One thing that they did do was, much like the 240Z kit that Tommy had just put out not too terribly long ago, or the Fairlady Z kit, is all of your chrome trim is a separate piece. So there is no chrome plate, no bare metal foiling your chrome trim on this. It's a pretty good kit. It's a little simplified. All in all, everything looks good about it in terms of the body proportions and things of that nature. I would suggest, based on a few build-ups of these, including the one that James Tester did earlier this year, that you take the front spindles on this kit and flip them upside down, or reverse sides of them basically, so that it will drop the front end of this car. Otherwise you get this weird, goofy off-road stance to the kit. This is built with the front end the way it comes out of the box. I don't know why nobody noticed that it was up that high in the air, but yeah, it is what it is in that sense. Also sold separately, there is a PE set for this kit, which has just a few odds and sods here, brakes and your pedal set, your speakers, brake faces, a bunch of metal stickers, sort of, you can see on top there. For these go around all of the gauge faces on the dashboard, which is really cool because it really settles the decals down a little bit in terms of clearly defining the edges of them. And you got some license plates in here. You got a little mesh for the behind the front grille there, and then the really neat part is it has these twin turn metal exhausts for the rear end, which really improves the look of the rear of the car dramatically over the injection plastic pieces. So is that alone worth, $18? I don't know. Up to you to sort of decide that on your own, but that is something that is available for this kit if you are so inclined and such and interested in such. Now, then we go back over to Hasegawa. We got the Alexel sponsored Mazda 767B 1992 Japanese sports car prototype series championship car. This car was in exactly one race in the 1992 season. It blew the engine up, and that was the end of this car. The end, never to be seen again. It is a unique car in the sense that Hasegawa did the 1991 version of this car. This was a Ford-powered Mazda rather than it being a rotary-powered Mazda. And they do include in this kit a new resin inlet for the top of the car. Cannot remember for the life of me where in the instruction, where in here it is, or if we're going to even be able to see it. Sort of sugar the parts around in here. Let's see if we can figure out, because usually the resin pieces are bagged separately up. It went sliding. Can I get it to the edge? Right here. This is the inlet for the top of the air intake. And then your decals on this are incredibly basic, because it is a very, very basic livery scheme. This car was the definition of a field filler. It was not competitive at all in 1991. It probably was not competitive since the late 1980s, when the 767B platform was new, but they ran them till they dropped, literally, in the Group C, All Japan Group C type of thing. And yeah, it's an interesting conversation piece, if nothing else. Next up from Hasegawa, you have this. This is the 1989 All Rally Japan Nissan Bluebird. This is sort of the late version of this kit. There was an early version. The car is white. This obviously is the Calsonic blue that we're all familiar with from 89 on, that ran obviously on the R32, and then pretty much up through the through the current days. Say up through 1993 on the GTRs, on the R32s, and then really, and Super GT has continued to run ever since then. But this has a whole bunch of new parts in it compared to the white car from 1988 that are reflected in the civilian car that also came out, that this is sort of based on. See here, this will build team cars 25 and 23, and they are, I'm going to pull the instructions out here, they would be the 2nd and 5th place vehicles at the 1989 All Japan Rally Championship Round 6 Tour de Mikasa, C-Class rally. So again, a little bit of interesting local rallying there for the folks. And then from this pile of stuff I picked up, we have this. This is the 1990 Toyota Supra Twin Turbo R. The significance to this kit in terms of its parts and its stuff that's new about this is it has a new set of wheels in it and new decals that reflect the global Toyota logo. People don't realize it was that long ago, but this sort of T inside the world changed in 1990. So this kit has been updated to reflect those changes, which are very, very minor. So, like I said, you get obviously new decals, but these new wheels, which you get the pack all the way out of the outside edge. There you go. Have the new Toyota logos on them, and yeah, that's pretty much the big difference there. It's also not a 3.0 turbo; it's a 2.5 turbo. So this is a slightly down trim version of the original kit as it was done in the first couple versions of this. Oh no, it's upside down. I do like the sort of metallic green, a very dark metallic green or metallic brown sort of color. I think that if I want to say, they don't call it that in the instructions here. What are we calling this color? We call this color dark green mica. Okay, so yeah, so very, very dark green. And it is a 3-color mix as far as the Mr. Hobby stuff that Hasegawa's kits come in. So yeah, you either try to figure out what this paint code is and have Splash or somebody mix it for you, or you're gonna be mixing a few things trying to get this this shade of paint. All right, so next up from Hasegawa, we have the 1979 Daytona GTU class winner. This is the 1979 24 Hours of Daytona car. This is based off of the brand new Mazda RX-7 tooling that they just did a few months ago. Really, it's been half a year or so now. At this point, there's going to be an SA22C kit coming out as far as the civilian version, as the SA22C is sort of the third variant of the first gen Mazda RX-7. This, of course, has a plethora of new parts added to it to make the race car. See your decals loaded up here on top with the very cool plaid seats that they used even in the race car. And this one thing about this kit, it is, a lot of people don't realize this because it's not necessarily common knowledge, I don't think, unless you happen to be alive at the time back then. If I can find where the parts are. Oh, they're the back of it. Well, this is the dashboard here. It's not going to be the easiest thing to see through all of these bags necessarily, but it is a left-hand drive dashboard. This car was Americanized, for lack of a better term. You do have to do quite a bit of work to this kit in modifications. You are going to have to cut off a bunch of the body to mount the over fenders. So keep that in mind. This is not going to be, a very just throw things together kind of build. They do indent the body. If you look here, you can see the line there on the inside edge that shows you where to sort of cut off the fender flares and things like that to mount. So it is indented for you. It does give you that sort of option, but it is otherwise a stock RX-7 body that you have to modify into the race car version. Not a big deal, but it is something to watch out for, or you can have in your mind as you consider the purchase. And all in all, it's going to be a much better version than the old IMA kit that Aoshima spits out on a random basis. So very cool. Okay, so next up, we got the 1989 Japanese Touring Car Championship Fett's Tom Corolla. So this is Team Tom's, with Fett Powercraft being your primary sponsor. This is, if you remember the Minolta cars that ran in 1988, this is the same team, same cars, just with a new sponsor. So it's kind of Minolta-ishy in the color scheme, but it's also, the new Fett Powercraft. Fett Powercraft, you may recall, hey, Lau over LB Productions now offering the decals to do the Supra, and just here recently, Shunko announced that they're going to do the Fett Powercraft decals for the R32, so this will be a series of cars that you could build should you be so inclined, and there's your decals right there on top. Also, you may recall, Frankie over at SK Decals has done this same decal sheet, but also includes the options for building the Macau cars as well, which run a similar livery but have a bunch of local sponsors included in it. Otherwise, this is what it is in the sense of being one of their newer Tool AE92 kits. And let's see. We've been talking about sponsors and finishes and all that stuff all this time. They finished second in the mine circuit and third place at Sabuka, or Sakuba rather. Sabuka. I don't know where Sabuka is, but that's not what I meant to say. And yeah, cool. Always appreciate all these gaps that are being filled by these new kits from Hasegawa. Also from Hasegawa, you have the 1991 RAC Rally, the Royal Auto Club Rally in Britain. Mitsubishi Galant VR4, Advan style sponsorship, although I don't believe Advan is mentioned on here anywhere. It is primarily their livery package, but the car is sponsored by Yokohama and Rally Art and whatnot. So Advan-ish, but not Advan itself. I don't believe this car did very well, as I recall. Bought it primarily because of the whole Advan thing, and it matches a bunch of other stuff. Finished 15th place, which was a finishing result. A number of other cars were retired due to poor road conditions and whatnot in this year. So a cool car nonetheless. Very traditional Mitsubishi and rally colors there with the Advan stuff. And then we have one of the brand new toolkits from Nunu Hobby. This is the Porsche 911 SCRS Group B rally car from the 1984 Oman Rally. Winning car at that. You may look at this and go, I know what that should be. That should be Rothmans. You're right, it should be. Decals for Rothmans, not in this kit. You will need some aftermarket for this one way or the other. So builds out to be a pretty nice looking 911 from everything I've seen of this, including inspecting the actual kit myself. You may recall we talked about the C-pillars. Ooh, man, that's crinkly. Apologies. The C-pillars having a whole bunch of sink marks on that Revell kit. Yeah, yep, no sick marks on that kit, so I don't understand why Revell, nominally, you know, the world's second largest model producing company, when you could figure in all of the stuff that they do with paints and glues and tools and all that stuff, they're right behind Tommy in that global hobby market type of thing. They can't figure out how to do a body for a 911, but little Macau-based Nunu certainly can. Got a whole bunch of clear under trays here, so you could do the old Tamiya gag of not painting these and showing off your handiwork, or of course paint them up correctly and have them cover everything. Curbside kit, so there's not a lot to talk about there in terms of there being a lot of detail. I mean, the Revell kit is supposedly a full detail kit, but yeah, very cool. Limited sort of thing where they ran these 911s in an off-road suspension. They were going to do the 959 as being like a four-wheel drive off-road car, but then, of course, Group B rally very quickly dissolved shortly thereafter, and that car never really made it to fruition other than a couple of Paris to Dakar rally things that it did. So this is the PE set for this kit, sold separately as all new are. You get an air jack, you get antenna, you get 2 sheets of photo etch. Part of the photo etch is sort of the under trays that I just showed you that were molded in clear. The rest of it being more traditional with brake faces and wipers and a whole bucket load of Dutch fasteners and rivet detail and mud flaps, your seatbelt material. Obviously, you've got the seatbelt ribbon in here to do both seats. And then there is a decal sheet for carbon fibering the rear of the seats. And then there's this one over here that's blank that doesn't have anything on it. And that would be your Rothman's livery, which includes the globe and all the Rothman's wording. It's one of those deals where it's upside down and backwards and everything else. I've actually opened this so I can show you. I didn't think I'd opened it. I wasn't going to do it on camera, but I have actually opened this and looked at it. So let's see if we can't get it out of here. It's going to be inside the instruction manual. So here we go. This would be your illegal tobacco livery. So, yeah. And then there is your Kevlar seat wraps. But yeah, these are obviously the things you need to make the car complete. The missing words. So, yeah, we'll put all this away. Be back in a half second. And then quickly passing through Mustang GT4 Tamiya kit. I have a whole bunch of decals. Still need more model kits. These were on sale. And pick one up. Okay, so here is one of Hasegawa's other recent new tool kits. It was released right after the beginning of the year. And this is the 1968 Isuzu 117 Coupe. Early version. We're going to be getting a late version of this kit in June, which requires quite a bit of new parts, including a whole new body shell, as it turns out. This kit, very unique, designed by some Italian folks that you might recognize if you looked up their names. Got the wood grain. I like the way they've sort of doubled up these dashboard decals where you have this with all of the decals, all of the gauges already in the wood grain, and then up here you have all the gauges separately in a wood grain overlay, so you can choose between the two as to whether you want to which one of these you want to go with in terms of putting the decals on. Just a really nice body shell in general, plus it's just a nice looking car in general from the Italian folks who did all the hard lifting on that. And then yeah, this is a whole new, like I said, brand new kit, brand new tooling. So if you're interested in this type of vehicle, that's something to look for out there as it becomes more and more available. And then we have this, which is what they're calling the middle late 91-93 version of the R32 GTR. This has a different set of headlight buckets included in it that reflect that later version. You do 91-93, not a lot of difference between these two cars in general. It's all going to be scripts and things like that in terms of the Skyline logos and which one of these two instrument bezels you use and things like that. You do get window masks in this kit to paint the window black on the windows, which is a nice touch as well. And then, like I said, you're not getting a lot of instructions here in terms of like specifically what's different between a late and an early. It's pretty much the same car. You're just calling out in your sort of in your own sort of inimitable ways as to which one of those 2 years. It's not really 1991/1993. It is the cars that started building in 1991 and then went to the 1993 model year. So this car, is the same pretty much for all 3 years. And like I said, there's like just a couple little ding-dads and doodads that you'll have to do pretty much your own research on because they're not mentioned in the instructions as to the very, very minor tweaks between the model years. And then we have this, which is the Tom's sponsored, really literally just Tom's sponsored AE101 1993 JTC Corolla. So this would be the next gen Corolla. Be the last car they used before going over to 4-doors in the 1994 season. It is an incredibly basic livery with just the silver Tom's decals being on the car itself. Tom's sponsoring their own race cars. Does include both decals for the team cars, so you can build either one. And this, the Boxcar car, the 36 car, finished third place. And this was in the Fuji Intertech race, which was the last Group A race ever run. As you recall, 1994, you went into Group 2 formulations, and that is all sedans. So this is the last the last place car and the last place division and the last race of that type of racing. So I guess historically significant in a way. This is pretty much the 92 car with just a different set of decals on it. And then we have this right here, which is the 1971 Monte Carlo Rally BMW 2002. Studio 27 did this decal sheet a while back. It's not a very complex decal sheet, obviously, because the car is dark blue. And then, off you go. I believe this car won its... This is back when Monte Carlo Rally started from a bunch of different cities and raced to Monte Carlo. And I believe this car won the 2.2, whatever division this is called. I can't think of it off the top of my head, and I don't want to, just say the complete wrong thing. But I think this won this, from this city to Monte Carlo, this division, I think this won that version of the race. So here's your livery, very basic. You have the 2002 decals for the window surrounds and all the chrome trim, and then everything else for the livery itself. Again, just your very, very basic livery scheme there. This car finished 15th overall, but like I said, I believe it won the 1.5 division for cars leaving from Reims, Germany to Monte Carlo. So that is that. And then we have one last kit. It is the Pagani Zonda C12 from Aoshima. So this is a brand new toolkit. It doesn't share, while the car itself shares obviously a bunch of stuff with the Warrior in terms of the overall car, this kit tooling itself is brand new. It doesn't share anything with the Warrior tooling. This is actually the generation of car before the Warrior. If you're not up on your Paganis, this is the car that came before the car that they've already done. This of course has the great big deep double din dashboard box, is what I call it. There's a whole bunch of parts in here. The body is multi-piece like it was the last time. The big difference with this body, this kit versus the original Pagani Warrior, is that while this thing is in a whole bunch of pieces, and while there is a whole big box full of pieces, this is a full detail kit. So for people who hem and haw around about full detail kits in Japan and curbsides and whatnot, this does of course include a complete engine, because here's the top of it here, and here's the block for it up here. So a full detail engine in here. This does not open. When you build this up, you could make it open, but the only things that open are designed to open on this kit are if you want to open the back hatch. You can see here there's a thing to sort of cut this off. You can make this front part open, but most people probably wouldn't because there's really not that much to look at up here. Plus, you'd have to carbon fiber this whole inside to make it prototypical. You get a prop shaft back here to lift the back doors up, and then you notice your door installation is just on. It's not a open-close situation like the Warrior is. So while this does have a bunch of parts separate, and you can basically put these on, I guess, with magnets and take them off, because there's no hinge system built into this like there was with the Warrior. This is not designed to be an everything open car. It is designed to be a engine hatches open vehicle, and everything else should, just glue, unless you really, really want to open the front of it, glue the front down, glue the doors on, and just have the back hatch open for the engine display, which eliminates a great deal of the fit the Warrior had, because the Warrior's biggest problem was it was either all open or all glued shut. There was not a happy medium between those two because the kit didn't really fit together particularly well when it all was set to work. So this eliminates a little bit of this. I've heard some people still complaining about the fit of this. I haven't really seen so many people actually build this kit to know if they're complaining about the old kit and thinking this is because this kit is the Warrior with a different body on it, which it's not. Again, it's a brand new tooling from the ground up. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Build one and find out, I guess, would be the answer to that. And then, much like the Warriors, this does come with its own PE set, which includes 4 turn metal trumpets for the exhaust, so that'll look great seated in this PE mesh for the exhaust rather than the plastic part. It does have a bunch of sort of metal surrounds for the vents and for the main dashboard binnacle, the Pagani logos for the... A lot of people are like, well, there's Pagani logos for the door. Yeah, they're there. Again, you could put the door on magnets if you want to take the door back off, but you're not going to see them ever again. Brake faces, the mesh surrounding the fighter exhaust, a couple other pieces of parts here, and of course a photo etch wiper, because every PE kit has to have a PE wiper. It's just a thing, right? So, guys, that wraps up this one. This catches everybody up to where we're at. And, yeah, if you made it this far, good on you. We'll see you guys on the other side.